So, got it. As we know, the meeting is recorded. Okay, so I'm calling to order the meeting of the Finance Committee on Monday, January 10th at 4 p.m. via Zoom. And this is a script for remotely conducted open meetings. Members of the public wishing to participate in the meeting must use their full names for Zoom access. If full names are not used, people will not be allowed to participate in the discussion. The town reserves the right to remove any member of the public from the meeting who doesn't use a full name or acts inappropriately. As a preliminary matter, this is Denise Cronow, Chair of the Finance Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative and in the order in which I see you. George?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Thank you. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative, and I can see Ken first. Thanks, Ken.
Aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Brian?
Present.
Thank you. And the anticipated speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Dorothy, we haven't met, but I'm assuming, yes, that's you, according to my screen. Thank you. Okay. Oh, and Joanna?
I'm here. I just can't get my video to work. I'm going to work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
So, good afternoon. This open meeting of the Finance Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Finance Committee is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting members that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude, I will ask the members if they have any questions or comments. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And then for items of public comments, finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Okay, so with that, may I please get, as just a second reminder, agenda item number 2, this meeting is being both audio and video recorded. May I have an approval of the agenda?
Move approval of the agenda.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. By roll call, George?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Stephen? Jill?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Thank you. I now will open it up to public comment for any public comment not related to the other agenda items that we have today. Seeing no hands raised, I will close the general public comment. The next item is approval of the meeting minutes from, let's start with November 16th, because I have a small change to the one on December 9th. So does anyone have any comments or changes to the ones for November 16th, 2021? As I don't see any hands raised, may I have an approval of those minutes, please?
Move approval of the minutes for December 16th, was it?
November 16th.
November 16th.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. By roll call, George.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Jill.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Denise, aye. That's approved unanimously. On December 9th, Terry, I have one change. On page 3 under Rayport, it's Fritz McClure, not Chris McClure. So may I have a motion to approve? Does anyone else have any other changes to those minutes? And if not, I need a motion to approve with the change I just mentioned.
So moved.
Please. Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And guess what? Roll call. George.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Stephen.
Aye.
Jill.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
And Denise, aye. Those are unanimously approved. Okay, so the next.
I hate to do this, but I had a
ahead, Terry.
computer glitch. You said page 3. It should be page 3 under
Rayport. She said
RAYPORT. It was Fritz.
McClure, not Chris McClure.
Okay. Should read FRITZ.
Correct.
McClure. Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, now we're on to item number 6, discussion of citizen warrant article L, equality for all genders on all island beaches. And Dorothy Stover, the article sponsor, is here to inform us about your article and give us some background on it and to answer any questions that we may have. So I will turn the floor over to Dorothy at this point. Thank you, Dorothy, for attending.
Thank you for having me. This is my first time coming to a meeting, so I'm excited. Thanks for inviting me. So yes, I put forward this article and I'll read it just to make sure. So in order to promote equality for all persons, any person shall be allowed to be topless on any public or private beach within the town of Nantucket.
Yeah, nothing like moving again for last semester, but
So yes, I'm not sure what else when it comes to giving the background. While on the beach this summer, I wanted to be topless and I wasn't able to. And I thought, wait a second, I have the same equipment, women have the same equipment as men. And so why can't I be topless? And as I started to research and go back into the history, I noticed that at one point, all men and women had to be fully clothed. And then that changed in the 1920s and 1930s. And so wanted to bring forth that equality that I think is overdue now.
Thank you, Dorothy. And I will, do you want to say anything else before I open it to questions for the members of the Finance Committee?
I'm open to questions.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. Stephen, you raised your hand.
Yeah, so Dorothy, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Would you accept a friendly amendment that all men be required to wear covering?
That was something town council and I discussed because it is looking for equality. So that was something that looking for equality. So if it is something where it's like, okay, men can no longer be topless, then I think that does give equality, right?
Yeah. I think if this were framed as a debate where either everyone must be covered or nobody is required to be covered, then that gives it a different flavor. So I wondered if you were open to that. It sounds like you are. So thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you for the question.
Joe?
I'm curious, Dorothy, is it a town ordinance or a state ordinance, or, in terms of prohibiting women from baring their breasts, it's what, a town ordinance that women are discriminated against this way or required to be fully clothed or whatever you want to call it?
Currently it's Massachusetts, and any female 5 or older that is topless is subject to a fine or being arrested. And also there's the point of being, you might be put on a sex offender list as well. So currently that's in Massachusetts. So this would be a bylaw. So it wouldn't change Massachusetts law, but it would be a bylaw. And then there's a federal law, but each state, because there's about 6 states where actually you're able to be any person can be topless in public, so not just beaches. So for instance, the state of Utah, all persons are able to be topless.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. But...
That's a great question. Thank you, Joe.
Well,
thanks, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I mean, I sort of agree with everything with Dorothy completely in principle. I just think it's going to be one of these articles that's going to have kind of a strained and odd debate, because some people don't really care, like me, so to speak. And then there are going to be people who are going to, I presume, Dorothy, you've already, some people are going to be all wound up about it. And I don't know, so.
Yes, definitely.
Peter Schaefer and then Joanna.
Peter, you're
Peter, you're on mute.
Hi, Dorothy. How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Peter?
Good, thanks. Could you fill us in on the current status of the beaches? I know that we have certain beaches that are lenient, certain beaches that you're not supposed to, I guess family beaches against non-family. Where do we stand on that, even though it might be unofficial?
Yes, so the Myakomet Beach out for the nude beach is an unofficial nude beach, but legally it is not a nude beach. It's just an understanding. And I have, through my research, I've yet to find an actual where this started, that it was an understanding. For people that I've spoken to about, say, like even 1960s, 1950s, they said it's just always been the nude beach.
Do you know whether there's been anybody given a summons for being nude on our beaches?
I haven't heard of that. So when I've spoken with the police, I haven't heard, but there hasn't been further research. It was just sort of this quick, like no one's, it's just sort of this understanding at the moment.
Right. Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Joanna?
Hi, Dorothy.
Hi.
I'm wondering if there's like an accompanying budget that goes with this, because how will this be posted? What would the signage be like? Who's going to pay for that? Like, how does that work?
Yes. So for what I saw for finances, it would be the cost to amending online and written resources, and then advising officers of bylaw. So I don't necessarily see something of signage, just this, again, such as like the nude beach, there's this understanding. It's just now people can be topless. So I wouldn't say that there needs to be signage, but maybe there are other people that think that there needs to be signage for all beaches, but I would just assume it would be across, this would pass. You have the amending of online resources and written the bylaw, but it wouldn't be posted on a Nantucket beach that you can now be topless.
Got it. And what are the other states, by the way, besides Utah?
Yes, Wyoming, Colorado.
None of these are oceanfront property.
Yeah, so, and there's a few other states that this is being debated, and this is all for public toplessness, so it's not beach. I'm going just beach. So yeah, so this is all within the state. And so there's a few other states as well, and there's some states that this is being debated because they are finding it unconstitutional.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Nice to see you, Joanna.
Nice to see you too.
Oh,
another quick question, Dorothy. If this article passes, you're proposing a bylaw amendment. So then the town of Nantucket would have a bylaw that says toplessness on the beaches is permitted. But if there's still a state law, does that still have to go to the Secretary of State? And in effect, can the state, I don't know what the right term would be, but block the adoption of this, and then you'd have to have state troopers coming onto the beach, I suppose, if the town police didn't, I don't know, just.
Yes, great question, Joe. So if it passes at town meeting, it passes at town meeting, but that is not set into the bylaw for Nantucket. It then goes to the Attorney General that will make the decision on whether or not this will pass. And if the Attorney General approves, then it does pass for just Nantucket.
Okay. Okay. So the Secretary, the Attorney General has to, or the Secretary of State has to approve the bylaw change, and then it's legal in the town of Nantucket.
Correct, the Attorney General.
And there are no other towns in Massachusetts that have public nudity or topless kind of permit, I don't know, more liberal regulations. We would be the only one.
So at the moment for Massachusetts, there are no beaches where it's legal to be nude. On beaches in general, men are able to be topless. So then there are certain towns that have tried to get full nudity, but that has not passed. Like it's passed through the Attorney General. But this wouldn't be nudity, this would be equality for all genders to be topless.
Okay. Okay. But there are no other towns that have done that either. I mean, this is, okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
My pleasure.
Peter, you raised your hand?
Yes. Dorothy, what is this? Provincetown doesn't have any sort of bylaw?
They tried to get a bylaw, but it didn't pass. It didn't pass the Attorney General. So they tried to get full nudity.
Are you with this article creating a problem that doesn't exist?
Such an interesting question. Why do you say that?
Well, because right now, no one's being bothered if they want to be topless on the beach. Maybe some mother might say, please cover up, my children are here, but you couldn't find a case where somebody's been summoned. So, is there really an issue here? Other than democracy?
It's such an interesting question. So for myself as a woman and other women that I've spoken with, there is an issue. So currently women are not able to do this, right? We're not able to be topless, but you as a man, other men in here could be topless if they choose. So at the moment, I'm not able to be topless. Any other woman is not able to be topless. So this is a challenge. This is a problem currently on the island and nationwide.
Okay, so it's really more democratic rights than it is you want to be able to sunbathe your entire body.
It's equality, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Joanna?
Just one more question. Is there any precedent anywhere, right? So I guess, is there any precedent in any like oceanfront community where this has been proposed and happened at all?
I'll have to double check that. Let me.
So Joanna, you mean in the United States?
Yes.
Because there's plenty of precedents outside of the United States.
Yes. I mean, I guess I would be surprised if there wasn't a bylaw in some other community where this has happened, and just to understand what impact it had, or if any, if it had, to Peter's point, did it have any impact?
Yeah, so I'll have to, I didn't look into whether this was any other community that was oceanfront. I just saw that there were other communities that have passed this, and there was none whatsoever. So say for instance, in Austin, Texas, you're allowed to be topless in public. And speaking with people there, there's been no issues whatsoever. So it's been a pretty non-topic actually.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. Stephen, and then Jill. Stephen first.
Dorothy, is there any truth to the rumor that the Chamber of Commerce has hired you to do this as a way to boost tourism?
That's amazing. Where's the paycheck for that? I would love to.
I guess you've dispelled the rumor, but that's but so.
Is that a joke, or was that actually a rumor?
It was a joke. But
okay, it was a good one.
How much, it could be a rumor. I just wouldn't have heard
it. It's a rumor now.
This has certainly gained some traction. So, but not nationwide, because there are states, right, that this is a non-topic. So, but for Massachusetts, it's like, what?
We'll have all those
Yeah.
blue laws to get rid of. So yeah, puritanical views are hard to get rid of.
It's true.
Jill?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused, Dorothy, because I'm hearing two things to me that sound contradictory. You're saying that you want equality and that you're willing to have everybody covered up, but then you're saying it's also really about, you know, you want to be topless on the beach. So I guess I'm trying to figure out which is it what's your real goal here?
My real goal is equality. Personally, I can go to the beach head to toe covered up sometimes. So for me, it's not necessarily like, oh, I go to the beach every time and I'm topless. So it is equality. So if someone were to come, and this is town council and I, we spoke about this, about men wearing tops as well. So, but we went to, that's going to be that's definitely more challenging for men now to have to give up their right to wear, to not wear their top. Does that answer your question, Joe?
No.
Well, they just, I mean, obviously one is already kind of ingrained in our heads, right? That's okay to do. That seems fine. If you're comfortable with everyone being covered up, then it's going against what you're talking about. Nudity and us looking up other beaches with nudity issues seems irrelevant. So I just want to make sure that that's, you know, what your goal is in this process so that we don't run down a lot of rabbit holes.
Right. Yes. The goal is to move forward with toplessness for all. So, and that equality.
I
Okay.
think to Stephen's question, Jill, how I interpreted Stephen's question was that, and Stephen can obviously say how he meant it, but on the floor of town meeting, if someone made an amendment to say, I want equality to be everyone covers up, would Dorothy be okay with the fact that that would get to equality? So not to change the article as it stands. The article is to propose that women can also be topless on beaches. However, on the floor of town meeting, if someone said, I want equality to go the other way, you know, and then people would then vote on whether they wanted that amendment or not. And that would then achieve equality. So if Stephen, of course, I'm speaking for you, so I'll stop talking and let you.
But she also said she wanted nudity. So I'm just saying that the two can't necessarily live together. I just want to know which one she wants more than the other. Because
I actually did I say nudity? Because being topless isn't being nude. Nudity would be if your genitals.
Toplessness. That's fine. Toplessness. Whatever it is. I'm just trying to figure out what is your priority here, because I can't vote for both.
Yes. Well, as it stands, my ultimate goal is what it says for to promote equality for all persons. Any person shall be allowed to be topless on any public or private beach within the town of Nantucket. So that is the ultimate goal. Does that answer your question, Joe?
I mean, I think I know what your goal is. I understand what Stephen's is, but again, to me, those are contradictory. So I feel like if someone offers this amendment where everyone is no longer able to be topless, then that's kind of, you know, it's defeating what the intent, your original intent was for this. So I just wanted to understand what it is that you wanted to achieve. So
yes,
it sounds like that's your first choice, is toplessness for all.
Toplessness for all is my first choice.
Okay.
And on the day of town meeting, Jill, I would expect if someone offered that everyone had to wear a shirt, that it's potentially outside the scope, and the moderator would say that that's scope creep or whatever she calls it, and it would not be an allowable amendment. But you know, we don't have the moderator on this call, so yeah, I can't see someone making that motion, honestly. But I'm always surprised at some of the things that get changed at town meetings. So. And I'm happily deferring to Sarah's expertise as to whether it fits within the scope of the intention of the original proposed bylaw. Joe, did you have your hand up, or were you? No? Okay. All right, so my question to the Finance Committee, any more questions of Dorothy? And if not, are we at the point where we could make a motion and make a recommendation as Joe has tried to train me for the last 3 years, make our recommendation as to this article, or do you want to postpone it to another day? I need someone. Thank you, Joe.
I would just say that the issue for me here is, do we make a positive motion on this, which this, all due respect, Dorothy, this is not a financial issue, right? This is a sort of a public social issue. Do we make a positive recommendation, which sort of implies that the committee approves of this or supports it? And even though we may, and there's a difference, I think, between the committee individual supporting it and the committee, or do we do, you know, kind of, I've gone blank, the
take no action.
Take no action. Do we do take no action and in effect let the voters decide what they want to do? I mean, because that's really, Dorothy, what's going to happen is town meeting will either vote for it or not. So
I will remind us at the beginning, and here's goes Chris Klowacki jumping in with our favorite take no action and motion not to adopt discussion, but they are nearly equivalent. So they're not quite equivalent. I understand that, Chris. And no doubt you will help clear that up for us yet again at the start of motion season or recommendation season. But so I'm just putting that out there in terms of, I wish we had a fourth choice, Joe, which said outside the purview of finance committees need to make a recommendation or something like that, because this would be something that should go straight to the voters without us potentially weighing in.
Right. I mean, that's, I really think that's sort of the best, you know, take no action, I think is sort of the correct vote, because really, I don't think the finance committee has much to say about this, and it's up to the town to decide whether Dorothy's suggestion and argument has merit and whether people want to go along with it, because as I'm sure she's found out, there are lots of people who just find this something they're not ready to tolerate yet. So,
George?
I pretty much agree with Joe in that it doesn't really belong here in this committee. I think it's pretty primed for the town and town meeting, and personally, I would have no problem with it, but that doesn't make it fair for everyone. So I think we should do as you suggest, Denise.
I have suggested a fourth option, which doesn't exist. So I think we have to find a better way forward here, George. Chris?
I just had a question for you. I'm trying to keep up with the inbox, but we haven't received any mail on this from any other viewpoints, have we?
No, we haven't gotten any mail at all.
Thank you.
We've gotten mail for Thursday's meeting, which I've sent, but we haven't gotten any mail for today's meeting in respect to this topic. So we don't have to make a motion today. However, to be honest, I don't understand what delaying it would do for us. So seeing as we only have three options, motion to adopt, motion not to adopt, and motion take no action, recommendations rather. I'll get there, Joe, by the end, I will.
I was just going to say, I don't know what the rest of the committee feels like. I mean, I'd be happy, even though I argued for take no action, sort of the neutral course. If the committee really, you know, agrees with Dorothy's proposal, and I mean, I have no trouble saying, you know, motion to adopt. I mean, you know, we can take a positive motion on this. It's it's our group or personal opinions. I personally don't really care. I mean, if
let me just close the public discussion part of this before we get any farther along in terms of our deliberation on the motion. So I'm closing the public comment. Not that we've had any other than Dorothy, the article supporter, but there we go. Peter Schaefer, you put your hand up?
Yeah, I brought my kids up on summers on the island for 35 years, and they went to different beaches almost every day. And sometimes there was a nude person on the beach or a topless person on the beach. I don't ever think it was an issue. I don't even think I noticed it. And I think we're bringing attention to something that doesn't need attention. I understand your philosophy on the democratic issue, but maybe it should be written differently rather than specifically talking about being topless on the beach.
Chris?
Madam Chair, just curious whether Mr. Schaefer wants to suggest some other language for us to consider in our motion.
Yeah, my thought would be equity for all genders, period. Does it really matter whether it's on the beach or whether it's in a car? It just doesn't matter. We just want equity, I think. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Dorothy.
So
No, but that's not, sorry.
Are you talking about the public spaces then? All public spaces?
I'm just saying whatever the rule is for men, it should be for women.
Right.
Regardless of where or what.
Interesting. Thank you, Peter.
Joanna?
I mean, but you know, a popular sign on many stores basically says no shirt, no shoes, no service, right? That's
yes, there's a public health component to it.
Right,
yes.
like that's basically the standard that we all agree and go by. So that, I mean, that seems to be in that context fair. I think what Dorothy is suggesting is that in the context of the beach scenario, it's not equal. And so I think that, because I agree with you for the most part, Peter, I think it's not necessarily an issue, but there is an equity issue, right? And so this is the piece that worries me about the town finance committee saying that that either we're going to take no action, right, or we're not going to adopt because we're negating an equity issue. And that's not, I'm not sure that that's appropriate. I mean, I would probably be comfortable with either voting to adopt or voting to take no action, but I'm not comfortable saying no, right? And furthermore, I do think that there will be some cost to this, right? No matter how we're going to slice this up, if this goes through, there's going to be some, it could be marginal, but there'll be some cost to this.
Thank you, Joanna. Jill?
I'm in favor of take no action. Just let people debate this on the floor. I think that's the best way, and that's how we're going to get better input from the public.
Any other thoughts? Do we want to make a motion today? If you want to make a motion today, I'll take a thumbs up or a thumbs down, so I can tell if we're going to close this today or we're going to defer it to a future meeting. 1, 2, 3 thumbs ups, 4 thumbs ups. Peter Schaefer, not ready. Chris, okay. Okay, all right. So now that we're all agreed that we'll make a motion, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second it.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. By roll call, so George? The motion is motion to adopt, George, so.
Aye.
Thank you. Peter?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Joanna? Denise, aye. That's unanimous. Thank you, Dorothy.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time and questions. I appreciate them. And I'm here
Well
if
done.
anyone wants to further chat too.
Well,
Please reach out. Thank you
well
again.
done, Dorothy. You did your homework.
Oh, thank you.
You survived your first finance committee, Dorothy. Now feel free to come back to all of them. They're fascinating, as you can tell.
Right. Or just hang out. You want. It's equally exciting, no matter the topic. So just hang out.
Riveting.
Yes, because next we have, yes. Next
Was this our first R-rated finance committee meeting?
Oh, Joe.
Sorry, that was probably inappropriate to all the ladies there. I apologize.
I didn't hear you, Joe. I had my ears on mute.
I know, but it was recorded anyway. I'm probably going to get bad letters now. Oops.
Okay, Ken. I'm moving it swiftly over to Ken. Thank you. And which one do you want to discuss first? Of the
well, I've got three to discuss. So let's do the usual one, the disbursement of funds first.
Okay, hold on. Wait. I have to catch up to you. Which one is that? Is that BB, budget transfers? Or
no, it's the appropriation fiscal year 23 CPC.
Okay.
Okay. So
that's letter Z for everybody. That's yes. It's okay. In our current lettering scheme, it's letter Z. Okay. Thank you, Ken.
And so we've made allocations this year in the three regular categories. The total amount of the allocations are $3,568,389. The funding for that starts with the money raised from the CPC surcharge, and that amounts to $2,478,000. We then allocate state matching funds. And this year, we assumed that the money that we would be receiving in 2023, for 2023 that we'd be receiving in 2022 was $600,000. For your information, we assumed a lot less last year, and the actual amount of reward that we received earlier this year in November of 2021 for Nantucket, based on the allocations that we made in the previous year, were $1,074,780. So that means that the amount that we assumed from the previous year, any excess over that amount, which was in the budget last year, would go into undesignated reserves and would be available for future allocation. And you can see in this year's allocation, we took $317,489 out of the undesignated reserves in order to be able to meet the targets of the requests that we had. So the amounts in each category, we have to allocate 10% to each category. So we allocated in community housing, in historic preservation, we allocated $1,403,539 with respect to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 projects. With respect to community housing, we allocated $975,000 with respect to 3 projects. And with respect to open space, we allocated $1,039,850 with respect to 2 projects. One, which is the 7 new racket pickleball courts out by where the racquetball facility is, and then some money with respect to the Sustainable Nantucket with respect to the Community Farm Institute. We were able to allocate most of the requests with respect to all of the applications made with respect to this year. So we were very pleased. We were able to also do something with respect to Myakomet Village, where we did an allocation a couple of years ago, and we learned from the state that there was very specific language that we needed to have in order to be able to provide money for the preservation there, because those projects were not initially funded by CPC funds, but because of the nature of the fact that they're affordable housing, by making determination that the funding that we're providing is necessary to prevent these housing structures from, key degree words are future injury, harm, or destruction. We're able to make the grant to be able to rehabilitate those properties. So we're really very pleased with the activity that was the options that were presented to us this year, and it is our recommendation that these be recommended in full by the Finance Committee. And I'll be happy to answer any questions with respect to each or any of the individual allocations.
Questions? Peter Schaefer?
Yeah, hi Ken, how are you? Just a question, who manages the money once it's distributed? In other words, if you're going to give whatever it was, $880,000 to the Racket Sports Association, Who is somebody in town government responsible for monitoring how that money's spent?
No, Peter, one of the things that we did from the very beginning, and which was I think was a brilliant move on our part, is we don't give out any money. You have to spend it, and you come back to us to be reimbursed. And when you come back to us to be reimbursed, we check all of the ways that the money have been spent by the project manager. Project manager then reviews it to make sure that's within the terms of the application, because we have to certify to the Department of Revenue each year that the monies were spent in accordance with the approvals made at town meeting for the fundings that we are reimbursing. So we don't give anybody the money in advance. What happens is that the money has to be spent and then gets reimbursed. That works somewhat differently with the town, but with any other organization other than the town. The fact is that you've spent the money. We check to make sure it was spent in accordance with the request, in accordance with what's allowed, that we can certify to the DOR.
Thanks, Ken. It's a little bit like Jeopardy, huh? You get the answer first.
Right.
Ken, I don't know where 1 and 3 Benjamin Drive are, and what are those buildings?
They're going to be Habitat homes, and they're all over in the same area where My Comet Village is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Ken?
And these will be the first Habitat homes that become SHI eligible.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions for Ken? In which case, may I have a motion, please? Are we ready? Oh, first, are we ready to make a motion?
Sure.
Favorite thumbs up thing here? Okay, looks like we are. May I have a motion? Oh, Jill, did you have a question first?
Yeah, sorry. Ken, can you just go over what's going on at the paddle courts one more time? I just wanted to hear that again.
Well, what's being done is that the paddle courts are being made, that we're creating the pickleball courts. You know, pickleball is the newest.
You're doing more, yeah, you're doing more pickleball courts.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're adding 4 additional pickleball courts, and then providing funding for the support for 3 new tennis courts, 2 viewing areas, and a hitting wall and bathrooms over there to be able to flush that facility out. And it's been the use of, one of the things that was really very critical is we made sure that it would be accessible to the public. And so anybody in the public can in fact participate for a minimal fee, either $5 or $10, so that there is not, that we made sure we didn't create a problem that it was a private club or anything like that. So.
Oh yeah, Ken, I'm over there every day a lot. I love it there. So I'm really glad to hear that y'all want to expand it. So it's a real racket club for the community.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah. We have 350 members there, just for anyone who doesn't know that. They used to have like 30. So that's really changed in 2 years, and everybody's pretty overwhelmed, and it's very exciting. It's a wonderful place for our community right now. Really wonderful, especially during COVID. It's been, I mean, honestly, it's definitely changed my life. So
all the feedback we got was it was an incredibly well run, and it was very fairly administered, which was a critical point from our point of view.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, we're going to get a lot more members if we keep expanding too. So well done. Thank you, Ken.
Sorry.
Any other questions? In which case, may I please have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second. Thank you. And by roll call, George?
Aye.
Peter?
Yes.
Jill?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Denise, aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Ken, on to your next one. Are we on AA now?
The budget transfers back to the Community Preservation Committee. There is one item on that, and that is the amount of $3,000 from the Nantucket Athenaeum for their oil painting restoration. They did not need the entire funding, but were able to do the complete restoration. So this money, which was in fact never paid out, sits on the books, and we are now able to take it off of the books in the account of the Athenaeum and put it back into the Historic Preservation Reserved Fund And so that would be the motion that we would ask for approval. What we do each year is we go into each of the existing accounts that are open and take a look to see what's still outstanding. And as of the end of 21, in the open space category, there were not any open accounts outstanding. In the area of historic preservation, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 still accounts that are working on it. A number of them were close to resolution. And so next year we will have more accounts that will be closing out with monies coming back into the reserve category. And in community housing, there was one big item from Housing Nantucket that has been sitting there for a number of years, and they're getting that closed out. And so we will basically have virtually no outstanding accounts in that for next year. But for this year, we only had one account that needed to be closed out. And so our recommendation is that you approve the reallocation of the monies from the Nantucket Athenaeum account back into the Historic Preservation Reserve account.
Thank you, Ken. It's Article BB for those of you keeping track. Any questions for Ken on this particular transfer? Seeing no questions, I'm going to go straight to asking for a motion.
Move approval.
Thank you, Chris. Second.
Okay.
Thank you, George. By roll call, George.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Stephen. Jill.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Denise, aye. Passes unanimously. And now we're on to
the CPC warrant for the $5 million bond. In the discussions between the CPC, Brian Turbot on behalf of the town, Tucker Holland, and town administration in terms of looking for the appropriate areas of funding for the monies necessary with respect to the housing initiatives, which is one of the key strategic goals of the Board of Selectmen or the Select Board. In working with Brian and the CPC, we agreed to put forward a second warrant article to request the appropriation for monies to create a new $5 million bond that would be used for the cost of acquiring land, which may include buildings around. This is the language that is before you, is the exact same language that was passed a couple of years ago with the currently existing $5 million bond. In terms of the support for this, the material that has been presented to Brian Turbot, to the Capital Committee, and to various other entities indicates that the funding for this is necessary to address the need for the monies to address the housing need, meeting the housing needs to remain in safe harbor and to create SHI eligible units, and also to eventually provide funding for the trust concept of the bond, similar to the structure similar to the land trust that has been created over on Martha's Vineyard. The board members of the CPC, after significant discussion, agreed that this was the most appropriate way and most efficient way to be able to help the town address the issues relative to raising the money to provide the money for expanding the available units in order to stay within safe harbor and create SHI eligible units. I think what's really important is that the approach of going this way has no impact whatsoever on the taxpayer because of the fact that the entire cost of paying back the principal and interest on the bond is going to be funded out of the CPC awards over the next 12 to 14 years. We have already, in this year's allocation that we approved earlier, provided the first payment before the bond is even in existence of $350,000. There was a second allocation in this year's award of an additional $350,000, either second or third payment on the original $5 million bond that's been issued. In taking a look at the most efficient way of in terms of providing the significant amount of funding that is necessary to be able to address the issue of how we create more affordable housing in both rental and then eventually in some ownership opportunities, it was felt that this second tranche would be the best way to approach that in terms of the most cost-effective way of doing it, because the cost of financing is very significantly low at this particular point in time. And in terms of Brian Turbert's estimates, it looks as that based on the kind of funding costs that are out there, that this could in fact be paid back with as early as maybe 12 years, but probably not any more than 14 years. And again, at no additional cost to the taxpayer. So it is the hope of the CPC committee that in fact, this be endorsed by the Finance Committee, as it has support of the Finance Department, and it has support of Tryon Administration, and it has support of Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which has in fact voted to recommend this and approve this, and has provided the areas of intended expenditures of these monies to show that there are viable projects that are currently on the books, currently unfunded, and plans with respect to how to dispose of the monies that are being asked for at this town meeting to be going forward. So I'll be happy to answer any questions with respect to this particular article.
Thank you, Ken. Questions? Okay, Brian?
Yes,
you know I have a question. You know I have a question.
Sure.
And my question would be that I am just how do I phrase this in a way that is understandable? I feel like we're allocating money, even though, you know, Ken, I guess what I would have liked to have seen for me to get comfortable with yet again another tranche of money going to affordable housing is to see it's going specifically to this project. There will be heads and beds on this day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I am sitting here wondering how, yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that because I'm.
Well, Denise, Tucker has prepared, and I know that Brian has seen these in terms of the forms that have been presented to the Capcom, and we have these available that they could be circulated to you and your committee as well, showing the areas of the various projects that are involved with respect to the proposed use of the funds, the amounts that would be allocated to those, the amounts that have been allocated in the past out of the previous funding, the allocates that are allocated out of the awards, of the other awards at town meeting, and the proposed utilization of the current $5 million. That is something that has been submitted by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I'm pretty sure that Brian Turbot has those. I have them here, but I have no ability to screen share them. That's beyond my technical wizardry. But the information is there in really fairly significant detail as an answer to your question.
Okay, Jill, I'll ask you in a minute, but let me just follow up with Brian. So Brian, would you say that the $5 million that would come from this bond is allocated to actual projects that have due dates, deliverable dates, people actually moving into affordable housing? Because as we know, there's been several transactions recently that have been for buying land. And, you know, now we still, I understand buy land when you can buy land, but at the same time, I'm still sitting here at a point wondering, when do we actually see, oh, we're cutting the ribbon on this project, and this project, and before 2024 and 2025. It just
well, first heads and beds are going to be on the 31 Fairgrounds project sometime in July or June, July, or August this coming summer.
Okay, and how many would that be, Ken?
They're going to be 20 22 or 24 separate units with respect to X number of people that are going to be able to live in them.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Brian?
I have to go back and look, to be honest with you, Madam Chair, but my recollection of my discussions with Tucker and Ken surrounding this is that to the extent possible, there are a few projects that we've acquired land that will be putting out RFPs for development of into housing units or apartment units. And those projects may or may not need some additional funding aside from the land to make the projects work. And I think that some of this 5 million is anticipated to be used more towards that particular part of for funding versus continuous land acquisition right now. We have to remember that one thing that is pretty stringent and strict with the CPC funding is the CPC funding can only be used towards projects. It can only be used for projects that serve the AMI of up to 100%. So we have to be very careful on how we're allocating that and looking at that. But it is my recollection that some of these projects that are going to be moving forward and put out onto the tracts of land that the Affordable Housing Trust has already required may or may not need funding to close gaps to make them work for potential developers. I think 35 Orange and 37 Orange may be an example of the fact that we most likely will have to contribute in some way, shape, or form some dollars to make the project viable. What that looks like, I don't know that I've had in-depth conversations with Ken and or Tucker about that, but all of the discussions about this 5 million have been more around creating housing versus buying land.
That is correct. That is correct.
To then hold on to and create housing at some future point with no real understanding of when that might be right now. I think that the focus for the Affordable Housing Trust right now is focusing on some of the tracts that they have actually acquired and actually turning those into, as you put it, heads in beds.
Well, I just want, it's.
No, So
Jill, okay. Sorry, Brian. I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't mean to cut you off. Anything else?
No, that's okay. No, that's all.
Thank you. Jill?
I think Tucker has a working document that we saw at Capcom that was kind of helping a little bit about some of these tranches of money, Denise. But
okay.
I think, we went through this last year where it was like this pot and here and there and everywhere. And I think it would be good if we could start seeing the shape of that for me personally. Or I'm not voting in favor of these things because I want to see like who's asking for what. It all seems to be going back to the AHTF. So even if you want to say AHTF money, 2 million for this or that, even if it's not completely perfect, even if it's money they're saying for an existing project, but then like Orange Street, but then they're saying later it's for White Street. I mean, I just think that would help us a lot because, we're being asked for money like in Capcom. And that was confusing. They said it was for design. And then he came back and said, no, it was actually for acquisition. So I just feel like I'm hearing a lot of different reasons for why they need this money. And I know it takes a while to shape that because I know it's changing all the time. I would love to see it all on a piece of paper. So that everything's not evaluated so independently that we're looking at, it just can be confusing because there is a lot of acquisition now. So,
thank you, Jill. Anyone else in Finance Committee? Chris?
So I think the use of CPC borrowing capacity for affordable housing is probably a good idea, but related around these same questions is, seeing all the pockets of money that we're allocating and not valuing any less than any others. I would hate to message that the CPC funding isn't taxpayer dollars or is somehow free money because it is taxpayer dollars. We all pay it on our property taxes with a small subsidy from the state. So I just would hate to see any positioning of this to the taxpayers as being, other than additional tax money we're putting, in with all these other pools against affordable housing. So I think all of these questions are somewhat related.
Thank you, Chris. Joe?
A quick question, Ken. I probably should have asked this on the previous article. There's habitat money in that Article Z, correct?
Yeah.
All right, Madam Chair, I should have recused myself. I apologize on that vote. And similarly, in this $5 million bond issue, I think there's also some money earmarked for habitat.
Not that. I don't speak specifically, but in fact, it would be eligible, obviously eligible. Habitat money would be eligible with respect to this because in fact, they would qualify it under the 100% AMI cap.
Right, and I know we've got a request into the Affordable Housing Trust. I just can't remember whether it's funded from the bond issue or other allocated funds to the Affordable Housing Trust. So I probably should recuse myself from this vote as well.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Just to be safe.
As a matter of procedure, do we then have to go back and should we go back and revote? It would be Z. Do we have to go back and revote Z with Joe as recused, just to be on the safe side? So I would need a motion to reopen our vote. And then I would take a motion to revote. Just
sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay, Joe.
Well, I'd move to revote those articles.
A second.
Thank you. Just Z. Okay, by roll call, George.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Joe, I guess you get to vote on whether we revote.
Aye.
Stephen. Jill.
Aye.
Joanna.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
I now have a motion on Z. And just to remind the committee, we motioned to adopt last time we motioned it. So may I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. George?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Stephen? Jill?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Denise, aye. That motion carries unanimously. Okay, here's what I'd like to do for this, Ken, for Article AA. I would actually like to hold off on a vote for today and get the one pager, whatever it is, from whoever supplies it, can supply it to the Finance Committee to say this is where this $5 million bond money would go in support of affordable housing projects. So we can see the specifics that you referred to in your opening comments. And then I would like to invite you to come back for January 20th.
Okay.
Doing this for Maria's benefit so she can put it on the agenda. If that works for you, Ken, it's a Thursday.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Brian?
I won't be here on the 20th, just in case we're going to need me as part of the meeting. Be out of the office and unavailable or not available via Zoom.
That's fine. Phone.
Okay.
That's fine. Ken, if we can get it by the 13th, if we can get it by this, or we can push it off to the 27th, which works better.
I'll get something for you by the end of this week.
So let's do it on the 27th then, Maria, instead, because I want to make sure Brian's in attendance in case we have any technical financial questions. Chris?
Well, I was just going to ask you, Madam Chair, whether it might make sense to make that a broader request about the sources and uses of the monies that have been allocated. I'm just a little concerned if we just ask for the use of the 5 million, we may find ourselves sort of playing, well, wait a minute, I thought the money last year from this was paying for that. And so
Chris, that will be the nature of the report
okay.
that we give you.
Great. Thanks, Ken.
What we're going to be doing is showing you where the different pots of money came from in terms of the sources and how those separate pots were used, because we have to be able to manage those within the AMI guidelines and within the restrictions that each of them have for us. So we will provide that data for you.
Yeah, that's perfect. I just think we need a refresher on the whole.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Ken. Okay. So thank you, Ken. I appreciate you being able to do that for us and being able to reappear on the 27th of January.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Great. Okay, so now we are on the agenda on committee reports. I am looking to the people on committees to raise their hand if they have anything to report out.
This person did an extensive amount of his research. Oh, I have to go back. All right, bye.
Yeah, Joanna, you have to come back. You're on a committee. You're on 2 committees, Joanna. Please come back. Jill, we'll start with Jill.
Capcom's been plugging along. We're kind of down to the last bit. I think we're just going to debate and go over our Rory's next. And we are meeting on Thursday. And I think if it's not our final meeting, I think it's getting close. So you should be getting a report soon, but he implied you would get it later than what he had scheduled. So it's kind of where we are.
Okay. Thank you, Jill. Joanna?
So the CRC has, today was like the first, no, maybe it was a second meeting. We're scheduled twice a week from now until the end of January, and we won't deliberate probably until the first week of February, because there was some sort of issue with the Zoom the other day. So we had to push one meeting back. So that's what's happening there. And then I saw your note that Vince is going to come in terms of coastal resiliency. So that's good. And the coastal resiliency plan is on the select board's agenda tomorrow night to be adopted. I expect that it will be adopted, and we'll see what happens from there.
Good, thank you. Just as a reminder for the Finance Committee, we've invited Vince Murphy to, he will be attending January 27th, our Finance Committee, to give us a 15-20 minute presentation about the coastal resiliency plan and the expected associated costs. And the reasoning for having it on the 27th was because it would be then before we look at capital requests on the 29th when we do budget reviews on the Saturday. So that's the logic of tying those 2 things together. Okay, any other committee reports? None. Okay, so with that, I will, our next meeting is Thursday at 4 o'clock. The scheduled warrant article is Article F, fertilizer. I've forwarded you all via your town email some pre-reading that we've gotten from people who've written in letters. I've invited all those people to attend the meeting as well and have gotten positive responses from all of them. So we should be able to have a good discussion. And is there any other business? And if not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll count that as a second and I'll roll call. George?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Joanna?
Aye.
Denise, aye. Brian, Maria, Terry, thank you as always and much appreciated. And Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. We'll see you Thursday. Thank you.
Everybody Thursday.
See you Thursday.